Angie Houston, and I helped Miss Hall in the library last year, and I'm happy to get to do it again this year. I have a first grader here at Callison. My career outside of helping Miss Hall in the library is I'm a physical therapist assistant, and I've been doing it for about 14 years. So Miss Hall has asked me to give some tips on how to work in the library, shelving books and the other various tasks while taking care of your back. So we're going to do that today. And we will start with just going over a little bit of anatomy of the spine. I've brought my handy dandy spine model today, and let's just take a look at the anatomy of it. This is actually the base of the skull, and then of course the spine is here, and then at the bottom is the pelvis. And you'll notice that the spine has a little bit of an S shape to it. There's an inward curve here at the neck, an outward curve through the upper back and kind of mid-back, and then another inward curve when you get to the low back or the lumbar region. Most people are very familiar with that area of the back. All of these white things here, of course, are vertebrae, and then in between every vertebrae, there's a disc. And the disc in the center is kind of jelly-like, and then when it gets to the outer ring, it's tougher and more fibrinous. And that jelly stuff, when it starts to work its way to that outer ring, it can either push on it and make it bulge, so you've probably heard of a bulging disc, or if it bursts all the way through, that's actually a herniated disc. And where the problem comes in is if you can see these yellow things sticking out from in between every vertebrae, those are nerves. And what can happen, we actually have an injured disc right here, and you can see the nerve rests right on top of that injured disc. And that's when you've heard people complain of numbness or tingling in their low back or their leg. That's typically what's happened, is they have a disc that's been injured. It's either bulging or herniated, and the nerve is being irritated by that disc. So what our goal is here with this little talk today is to learn how to keep our spine in a neutral position. And so these curves that we talked about earlier, the inward curve at the neck, the outward curve through the upper back, and the inward curve through the low back is considered a neutral spine. And that's how you want to stay to keep yourself at the least risk for injury. Now, also, you see these little things sticking out on each vertebrae. You've got two on each side and one in the center. And attached to, these are called spinous processes, and attached to each one in your body, you have a muscle. It's called a paraspinal muscle. It's there for postural and structural support. But every time we lift or use our backs in the wrong way, we're asking those little tiny muscles to be lifting muscles instead of just postural muscles. So we're going to talk about how to eliminate using those to lift and use your legs. Your legs, and you actually have four muscles in your legs that are called the quads. You've probably all heard quads. Those are the strongest muscles in your body, and they're the ones intended for lifting. So we will talk about how to use those to lift versus these little paraspinal muscles. Now, to put lifting in perspective and the strain that it has on your back, the paraspinal muscles, if you're going to lift something and you're going to do it the wrong way, which let me give you a demonstration of the wrong way. This is the wrong way to try to lift anything up. Because whatever you're lifting, let's say it's a 20-pound box, and you're thinking it's not that heavy, I'm strong, I'm young, I'm healthy, whatever your excuse is for doing it the wrong way. If you're going to lift the box this way and totally reverse those curves in your back that we talked about keeping in neutral, you need to multiply the weight of what you're lifting by about 7. Because if you're going to use those paraspinal muscles, you got to put it in perspective for them. So if we're picking up a 20-pound box and we're doing it this way, as far as your back is concerned and those little paraspinal muscles are concerned, you're picking up about 140 pounds, not just 20, because remember to multiply it by 7. But if you do it the right way, which is to take your back completely out of it and use your legs, then you're only lifting the amount of weight that you think you're lifting, which is 20 pounds. So to lift something the right way, you want to put a little bit of space between your feet, and your back is going to stay totally out of it. You want to squat down like this. You'll notice that my back is not moving. I'm just squatted down here. I'm going to lift and then come up with whatever the object is I'm trying to lift. In our case, it's usually books here. So do it the right way to save your back. So now we'll actually demonstrate putting some books on the shelf. Okay. These books are up high, so that's good. So I'm still staying in neutral right here. So usually, if you're like me, or you're like Miss Hall, or you're like Miss Heaps, you're grabbing a lot of books. And the tendency probably, well, these books belong over here, so we'll come over here. So if you're holding on to all these books, let's say these books go down here on this lower shelf. Your tendency is going to probably be to hold on to your books like this and just bend over and, put them in this way. This would be the wrong way to do this. Instead, because remember, if you're holding 10 pounds worth of books here and you're bending over to do it like this, your back is actually, that's like about 70 pounds to your back. So you want to take your back out of it, come down all the way, and then put the books up. These books actually belong, let's see, where do these books belong? Right here. They belong right here. So they're going to go in right here, just like this. And so my spine is staying neutral the whole time. I'm not reversing my curves at any point doing it this way. So this goes right here. If the books are even just on this middle shelf, and you're even just, even if a child comes in and you're helping them look for a book, and it's down here and you're thinking, well, I'm not holding any books, I'm just helping someone find a book, and you're bent over doing it this way. In this position, you are still out of neutral, so you're at risk for an injury. An injury may not necessarily occur because of a traumatic incident. It can occur because of just wear and tear and a long time of doing things the wrong way. So even if you're just helping a child look for a book on a lower shelf, you want to squat down like this and look this way. Again, in this position, my spine is remaining neutral, so I'm not at risk, or I'm not putting any wear and tear on my back in this position. So you can help the child look this way. So the key to remember is keep your spine in neutral. And the best way to do that is to use your legs. If you're not able to squat down like that and still get yourself back up, there's one more technique that could be useful to you, and it's called the golfer's pickup. So if you're going to look for a book on one of these lower shelves, but you know you can't squat down and still get yourself back up, then use the golfer's pickup. And with the golfer's pickup, you can kind of hang on to this top shelf for a little bit of support if you need to. You're going to kick one leg out behind you. Your toe on this leg that's behind you can either remain on the ground if you need a little extra balance, or you can actually bring it all the way up to if you're looking for something right here. By kicking that outer leg behind you, you maintain some of that curvature in your low back. Versus if your foot's directly underneath you and you bend over this way, you've totally reversed the curve and you're no longer neutral at all. So if you can't squat down and get all the way back up, use the golfer's pickup to help yourself. And again, that foot can remain down on the ground if you need a little bit of extra balance. Thank you, and thanks for all your help in the Callison Library.